Sheriff Gore, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
So right now, the Sheriff's Department, you know, you've got a long history of cooperating with the federal law enforcement here in San Diego. And right now, you can inform ICE if you're releasing somebody from jail so they can take them into federal custody. Will that cease in January?
It will cease in a lot of cases. The SB 54, the Values Act, defines what violations that these undocumented people in our jail must have been convicted for. And if they've got a prior conviction for one of 800 serious or violent offenses, basically is what it boils down to, then we can notify ICE at the date and time of their release, and they will take custody of them in our facility. Or if they've been charged with one of those offenses and gone before a magistrate for a judicial finding of probable cause, and they're going to be released maybe on bond, then we can still notify ICE if they want to take custody of them.
Can you give us some examples of those 800 crimes that you would still be able to cooperate and some of the ones which you would not?
Sure. Your serious and violent offenses, any your murders, your rapes, the typical violent crimes that we read about in the newspaper. It's pretty all-encompassing. There's some that I think law enforcement, sheriffs in particular, would have liked included. Domestic violence, misdemeanor domestic violence, misdemeanor DUIs, driving under the influence.
Those are not included?
They're not included, and I think those are crimes that are concerning to me, and I think they impact public safety. But Values Act came a long way from where it was. I think we can make it work. Actually, the first part of it, as far as my deputies and police officers enforcing immigration laws in our community, none of us want our deputies doing that or our police officers. We realize that if we're perceived as immigration officers and people that are in this country undocumented, if they perceive us as immigration officers, it makes us all less safe. They're afraid to report crimes, they're afraid to be witnesses to crimes, and it creates a whole subculture. And the estimates I hear, 200,000 to 300,000 people in this county are without documentation. We can't let that happen.
I understand that there are currently some ICE officers stationed inside the county jail booking facilities, and at least one other sheriff's department in the state, up in Monterey, I believe, have no longer really provide any space for the ICE officials in their county jails. You know, they're prohibited right now, according to the law. The law says law enforcement agencies are prohibited from providing office space exclusively dedicated for immigration authorities. So
what we're going to do, we will have common space in there. It says specifically dedicated to immigration enforcement. But we have common space where San Diego police officers, FBI agents, DEA, other law enforcement agencies will be in there. And ICE will be allowed to be in there, but they won't have assigned desks. They will not have permanent space.
Earlier we spoke with one of ICE's acting directors who said that as a result of this law, he was concerned that his officers were going to have to, instead of just going to the jail and picking up someone who was being discharged, go into the neighborhoods and do more general sweeps, and that could affect the general neighborhood.
And that's a concern of mine. And I sat with General Kelly when he was the head of Homeland Security. He was out here in San Diego. And he made it very clear, if that's what they have to do and they go into that house to look for that person that they want to deport, they're going to scoop everybody else up in that house that they feel is in the country illegally and deport them at the same time.
Do you expect to see more of those at-large arrests?
I think we're already seeing that now with more field operations by ICE. They have their rules and regulations and their marching orders from Washington, D.C., and I respect that. It's a tough job they have. I'm really concerned about overall public safety in our neighborhoods. In our neighborhoods, more safe or less safe when ICE is out there maybe doing raids in our community? Would it be safer for them to take custody inside of our facility when they're released? We can't keep anybody past their normal release date. There's been laws and federal decisions that have given us guidance there. So when you serve your federal time, we're going to release you. And my position on a lot of these has been it's safer for them to take custody in our facility than tracking them down in our neighborhoods. But the Value Act is setting out, defining what I can do and what I can't do, and we'll follow the law.